So do this to scale not only your Amazon FBA business, but also your Amazon FBM business. I'm excited to share some really great knowledge, some really great golden nuggets with you today. I actually have somebody joining me from an Amazon Prep Center that's going to discuss why we need to be thinking about other things than just focusing on our Amazon FBA business. We're going to be focusing on what an Amazon Prep Center is, what it can do for you, and how it can really help accelerate your business. I can tell you firsthand that I use an Amazon Prep Center, and so it has helped drastically in my business. So without further ado, let's just jump into the interview, and I'm going to introduce my guest today, Taylor. Taylor, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Travis. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, good seeing you as well. And before we get started on our journey of why they should be or what they should be doing to scale their business, let's just go into your background a little bit. Let people know who you are and then what you do for a living.
Sure. My name is Taylor Smith. I'm a co-founder of My FBA Prep, and we are the largest network of e-commerce prep centers in the country. I'm sure we'll get into that a bit more in detail, but I was moonlighting as an e-commerce person for actually almost 10 years while I had a professional career in New York City. I was doing tickets for quite some time. Then I got into a drop shipping store in the pet industry. And then I switched over to private label and finally was in wholesale. And about 3 years ago, I was connected with my two other co-founders, Bart and Tom. And we decided that we wanted to do an e-commerce venture together. And that turned into My FBA Prep. Like any good story, it started small and then grew and kind of grew even quicker than we were ready for. But we started with one prep center in Sunrise, Florida. And today, in October of 2020, we've just broken 30 prep centers throughout the country. What we aim to be is an e-commerce service provider. So if you're an Amazon seller, as the name suggests, My FBA Prep, if you're an Amazon seller, we will prep your wholesale or private label goods and get them ready and compliant for Amazon. If you're selling on a Shopify store, we'll do fulfillment of your inventory when a customer purchases, and then lots of bundling and kitting subscription box customers, which falls under the fulfillment category as well. So we handle that all across the country.
So let's just jump right into what is Amazon Prep exactly. What does an Amazon Prep Center do? What is that?
Yeah, so an Amazon Prep Center, we receive goods typically that are bought wholesale and get them ready for retail sale. So speaking in more layman's terms, what that means is we'll receive pallets of inventory from customers. Again, that could be private label Amazon sellers, that could be Amazon wholesale sellers, and we'll take them from pallets or boxes or case packed, and we'll turn them into eaches. So the most basic thing that we'll do is we'll add the FNSKU label onto a product, whether that's covering the UPC, if it's a product that has a UPC, or if someone's sending us their private label goods right from China, we will put the FNSKU label on it, a poly bag if it needs it, bubble wrap if it needs it, again, getting it Amazon compliant. We will go inside of Seller Central on behalf of the customer, and we'll tell Amazon what we're sending into their fulfillment centers, and we handle all of that for any of our customers. And I'll just say where we're at today, we're targeting the 50,000 plus Amazon sellers who have greater than $1 million in revenue. And what that allows us to do is really specialize in giving people the best customer service we can. We have key account managers who will facilitate lots of communication and lots of special requests between the customer and the particular prep center or warehouse that the inventory is being worked on in.
Yeah, so one of the things that I love about your business and the business model that you guys have put together is that, you know, you're not just a prep center. You are just like us. So like our agency, Profitable Pineapple, is not just an agency. It's a need that was needed for your own brand, because you still sell wholesale and we still sell private label, but we tried agencies, we tried softwares for Amazon PPC, and then nothing worked. So we created our own agency, and now we manage clients PPC for them. Same thing in your world. You know, you were in the Amazon game, you were doing wholesale, and you still do wholesale, and then you saw a need for the prep side, and you became this prep center as a result. And it's funny how sometimes your side hustle ends up being bigger than your original hustle. and we're not quite there yet, but it's getting there. And that's what I love about your company. That's why I wanted to get you on the show. And that's why we've become pretty good friends. You know, we've met a couple times and had coffee, had wine, had lunch. So um, I just love that part of your business. But let's get into the further question. And this is the one that people came for. So this is what's needed to scale your Amazon FBA business and your FBM business. But why does somebody need to use an Amazon Prep Center to scale their business?
Yeah. The real answer for that is that their time is better spent doing other things in their business. So for example, if you're a wholesale seller, your time is likely better spent finding more suppliers than it is prepping. If you are a private label seller, such as yourself, and I think a lot of the people you manage in your agency, your time is better spent either coming up with new products to sell, doing merchandising, or in Amazon world, bundling, meaning more ASINs with the same inventory you already have or the same products you've already created, or otherwise advertising and optimizing. That's what you should be focusing on. So the question I encourage people to ask when they're thinking, should I do it myself in my garage, or should I start a warehouse, which many good wholesale and private label sellers, they get to that point. The question I ask is, well, what business do you want to be in? If for some reason you have a really great warehouse knowledge and you're good at logistics or supply chain and that's in your background, maybe you should start a warehouse. But if the business you're in, like in your case, is eye care and hygiene for the eyes, then you should be focusing on products related to that, or distribution related to that, or advertising surrounding that. You should not be focused on putting FN SKU labels on items. And so we try and come in and really empower sellers to grow their business by taking this massive piece off their plate. I'll even go a step further for people in your audience. And if you're trying to sell to someone, like if you're a wholesaler and you're saying, I want to sell myself to this brand and I want to represent them from a PPC side, or if you're in private label and you're saying, what is it that I do well, why people should buy from me? Very rarely is the answer, well, I prep it extremely well, or logistically I have the whole country covered. And what that tells you is that that's not an important thing for your business overall, or for the people who are purchasing from you. It's not a selling point. It's more of a commodity, this prep piece. And so we look at that in two ways. The first is you focus on what makes your brand great and unique in what you do. We'll handle the logistics. But then getting back to your earlier point and how it is possible that my side hustle became bigger than my real thing, I'd say the first thing to that is I have two great partners. It's not just me. And otherwise, it's like we brought really, really high touch customer service to an industry or a little segment that otherwise has never seen it. And, I've been in 40, 50, 100 warehouses, something like that. I mean, we have 30 active warehouses in our network. The warehouse operations and Amazon people, it's not necessarily one and the same. So to be able to speak both languages and be able to communicate with both people has been super important for us in offering that service.
So I have a couple stories for you, and on the horror side and on the great side.
Yeah.
We a couple Christmases ago, we teamed up with Belova, the watch brand,
Sure.
and came out with their sunglasses, and we were going to release them on Amazon, and we were going to release it with 3 different products. It was going to be their sunglasses, a special case, and then a product that we were selling wholesale that went in the case. It was called a Peeps eyeglass cleaner. And not unknowing to us, they were shipping it to our house, 2,000 units of each of them, sunglasses, little Peeps thing, and case. And we had 6,000 products show up to our house, and our living room and our whole first floor was filled. And we thought they were putting it together themselves, but we had to put all 2,000 of these units together by ourselves. And we actually had our parents come down to help us out, prep these and get them back out the door. The UPS person would come to our door every day. We'd give them 4 to 5 boxes, and then we'd get back to prepping. It was the worst experience of my life, and I will forever use a prep center as a result of that. And second story, this is more of a positive story.
Let me jump in there. I
Go
just
ahead.
want to respond to that quickly. When I'm not doing calls that people will watch later and I'm talking to people informally, let's say at an Amazon meetup, and people say, how do I know when I'm ready to use a prep center? My answer is often when your wife wants to leave you. And so just sort of echoing the sentiment is like anyone who's struggled through it understands that, yeah, you get to a point where you say, that's not worth my time. But let's hear your good one though. I'm
So
curious to know on the
the worst
positive
part
side.
about that story was that we didn't get everything out in time for Black Friday or Cyber Monday. We missed the whole Q4 holiday season and we were stuck with this inventory. We had to clearance it. It was awful. We lost like $20,000 on that. So
Oh, wow.
Amazon Prep can save you $20,000 in lost income opportunity. The good story, I have a coaching client and I've been with her for 3 years now. And she started out doing about $150,000 a year when we first started working together. And one of the biggest things that we did for her business was she was actually hand sewing her product and then shipping it out herself. And the biggest thing we did was find somebody to actually make it for her. But the logistics side of things, shipping it out for her. And now she should do close to 1.3 to 1.4 million this year, 3 years later. So she's 10x her business in 3 years as a result of getting rid of that logistics inventory side. And, like you said, time is huge. So when she freed up her time from not only sewing the product, but shipping the product, that allowed her to focus on her unique value, which is her Instagram following and her creativity. Her product is very creative and it's a beautiful product. And she was able to release, 10 times more products, grow her audience more, and then it brought her time back. So if you want to scale this business, get rid of those little things like Amazon Prep, inventory, logistics, all of that stuff that Taylor's company can do for you. That's something that's just so huge. And when you get to that higher level still, that's when you start to consider, PPC management like what we do. And so whenever your time is being taken up by these things that are, you can hire somebody out for less than, let's say, $100 an hour, you need to take advantage of that. So that was the positive story.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. I think that's a perfect illustration of when and why you should use a service like ours.
So let's jump into, do you have more customers doing more FBA or more customers doing Amazon FBM?
Yeah, people often pose the FBA FBM question as an either or question. And if someone were to ask me, similar to what you just asked me, what should I do? I would tell them, you should probably do both. I mean, what I would aim for if I were a seller is around 75% FBA sales. Why is that? Well, the Prime badge will convert better than selling FBM. And maybe we'll save this for another time, but sort of the pro tip or the expert level is if you can get that SFP badge. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. You want to take into consideration things like weight and dimensions. That all factors into it. But the pro tip would be if you can get to the seller fulfilled Prime badge, which is actually based on your account metrics. But anyway, you should probably be doing both FBA and FBM. That's especially relevant right now. We're in Q4 of 2020, and we already saw when COVID hit Amazon hard in March and April, what was happening is this flip, where typically you see FBA sales dominating the buy box, and FBA is, of course, two-day delivery for Prime, and then FBM is, let's say, a week. Well, what happened in March and April is you would see 4 to 5 week delivery time on FBA sales, and FBM sales were still roughly in the 1 week range. That's not out of the question to see as we're about to approach the busiest times, November and December. Amazon just released the dates for when your inventory needs to arrive for Black Friday, which is November 6th, and to be sold for Christmas, December 1st. I've heard many sellers and many clients of mine talk about their fear that what will happen is they will not be able to get their inventory checked in if they sell out. And you're seeing a lot of people are seeing quantity restrictions on their ASIN. So it's not uncommon to only be allowed to send in 200 units per ASIN. Now, if you have a long history with your ASIN and it has velocity that demonstrates and suggests you're going to sell through that way more quickly, you might not see it. But a lot of our customers are saying, hey, we can only send in 200 units of this particular SKU. And by the time we sell through that 200, there's no time left in the year to replenish it, especially as check-in times now are going from, let's say on average, let's say 3 to 7 days from when it lands to being checked in your inventory. Now you're seeing that push back almost 3 weeks. And so what's the solution? You take control of your business, you send an inventory to a 3PL, a prep center like ours, and you keep that FBM listing going when you sell out of your FBA. And I know, Travis, that you guys at I Love have done that as well and done it pretty successfully in a bit of a different situation when Amazon was doing a bin check and your FBA listings or inventory was frozen, so to speak. You went FBM and were able to capture those sales. And if nothing else, you should protect your business by saying, what happens if Amazon gets backlogged, slows down, logjam, whatever, can't deliver in a time that my customers want? And the answer is FBM. You want to fulfill it yourselves or have a warehouse fulfill it for you.
So a ton of information to unpack there. I'm going to try to bring it all back. Okay. As you were going, I was like, oh yes, I need to bring that back up. But so first of all, the inventory limit that's going on right now in Q4 of 2020 is huge. To give you an example, we ran out of stock of a product in July and we didn't get it back until September. We were selling 100 to 150 of this product per day. Amazon, due to the velocity issue over the last 30 days, which was 0, only allowed us to send in 200. And so we had to have an FBM listing in order to keep the sales velocity going. So we were selling close to about 75 FBM listings a day on this one listing to the, in our FBA listing, we just keep trying to send in 200 per day until they finally opened it back up. So that would have delayed our launch even more of this product as a result of not having an FBM listing. So that was one story that we've had in the last year. COVID, of course, April and May. April sales tanked because of that 4 to 5 week window. We set up FBM listings probably close to 2 years ago in case something happened. And we didn't expect COVID to happen, but when it happened, we were prepared. We just dropped the price by $1 on all of our FBM listings, and that took the buy box away. One of the key things that you have to remember, though, is that your advertising is SKU based. And so most of the time you just put in the FBA SKU. You need to put in both.
Right.
In case that happens, it can just flip to the FBM. And another tip that we give for FBM sellers when you have that FBM listing is to give free shipping. That's expected on Amazon, so just give it to them. Those are kind of things that have worked in our favor. And then we just launched a product last Tuesday on Prime Day, the October Prime Day, and we sold 500 units, but only 50 were in Amazon FBA because it was a brand new product. So we sold 500 units, but it was mostly FBM. And then we can keep that velocity going because we have our FBM listing live on Amazon too. So those 3 stories that were relevant to us within the past couple of months that FBM saved us, but it also allowed us to just keep projecting and launching forward. So I just wanted to share those stories because it was really relevant to what you were just going over with everything you just talked about. There was one other one in there and I can't think of what it was, and it will come back to me after we get off the call.
No, I just love hearing from your PPC perspective, how you look at it and what you should do, because your tips are different than mine, but all of them are sort of necessary to have best practices. I really like what you were saying about don't forget to include the FBM SKU in your advertising. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to capture that when you switch over. So yeah, very good.
Well, Taylor, this was great. Awesome golden nuggets. So to scale your Amazon FBA, to scale your Amazon FBM, make sure you have both. Not only that, but make sure you're hiring somebody out to do your prep work for you. It's just a no-brainer. It's low cost and it can make you a lot of money because it frees up your time. We sell almost 500 units a day and I never see one thing. It's somewhere, but it's all done through prep centers. And so Before we go, Taylor, let viewers know how they can get a hold of you. Let them know where your website is. And all of this is going to be down in the description and comments down below. So make sure you check it out there too.
We are myfbaprep.com. You can check us out online. There's plenty of ways to book a call right there. You can email me, taylor@myfbaprep.com, or my partner, tom@myfbaprep.com, if you want to have a sales call. Travis, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, Taylor, thanks for being on.